and you are welcome to my channel. On this channel, I review movies and I discuss other lifestyle related content. If contents like this are the kind of contents that interest you, kindly please hit the subscribe button. Yeah, that's me giving you some minutes to hit the subscribe button. So kindly please hit the subscribe button. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the love, for always watching my videos. And if there's any video you have not seen, you can please watch it after this video. So let's delve right into the content for today. Today I will be talking about Ayinla. Ayinla is a fictionalized biopic that mixes history with culture, with tradition, and tells it with humor. Do you get it? Tells it with humor. I think it's also a drama, and it is based on the life of the iconic Egba musician, popularly known as Ayinla Omowura, who, despite being unlettered, was very enlightened. His music was generally or mostly known to address the issues of government, of individuals, and the society as large. It is recorded that Ayinla he had such an enlightened mind, like his mind was really sharp, and I think this is you can see this from his songs, because in his songs he uses poems, he uses innuendos and metaphors to express his mind, and that way you know that he has such sharp mind despite the fact that he was an illiterate. Another thing that is noteworthy about Ayinla is that Ayinla is such a giver, and I think that was also was portrayed well in the movie. He was such a giver. Even though he had he had lots of wives, he had children, not lots of wives. On the movie, I think he had 2 wives and he had children, and but then he was still able to, like, at least love them and give them and still extend this giving and to people in society. I think he's somebody that right now, in this age and time, we'll probably call him a philanthropist. We'll probably refer to him as a philanthropist. He was that much of a giver. I think there was this particular song that he even sang in the movie, and it was like, I cannot sing it because I don't really know the song, but I'm just going to pick some lines. According to his song, it was like, there's nobody that will come to his house and you will not eat and drink and be full and probably take back home. At the same time, he was introspective, and something that I really loved about him, and it was one of my favorite parts of this movie, was that he knew how to celebrate his wins with the people around him, with the community. For, like, I know, and there was this particular phrase he kept saying whenever you say things that make him happy, or he sees that he's making he's eating another milestone. He was always saying, "Shout them around" or something. There's a way he said it that was really, really funny. The tragic flaws of Ayinla, as portrayed in this movie, was that Ayinla liked women like so much. It was very obvious, even though he had wives at home, he almost could not see. I wouldn't say that women also loved him. They also loved him. But once Ayinla won, like in the movie, and I think according to the things that I read, once he sees a lady that, oh, this lady is beautiful, he always feels like he must have her at all costs. And he was also he was egoistic. He's somebody that you would refer to as being boisterous, very quick tempered. Like, he got angry really quick, and I think that was his tragic flaw, and it was something that even led to his downfall in the movie later on, because even to the point where, because he had an Ifa priest that he was always consulting, and that one was always doing all these occultic things for him. There was a point where he was warned that he shouldn't engage in any fight. He should stay away from trouble. The man referred to it as koyerafekpo. And in English, that means like stay away from palm oil, so to say. You get, when you're wearing white, they say don't go close to palm oil because it will soil your white outfit. Alright, so I think that's basically about Ayinla, the character himself. Alright, so the movie stars Adedimeji Lateef, that played the titular role of Ayinla. It stars Debo, Mr. Macaroni. His real name is Debo Mr. Macaroni, and he played Bayowa, as opposed to the real Bayo from the real story of Ayinla. I think Bayo was his assistant in real life, but in this movie, he was like, the name was changed to Bayowa. He also starred Omowunmi Dada. Omowunmi Dada played Deborah. He stars Adelaoye played Jaye. He starred Bimbo Manuel. He stars Afolayan. Kunle Afolayan played Ajala the Traveler. He also starred, Tunde Klane also made he made a cameo appearance in the movie. He also starred Bimbo Ademoye. I don't know if I've mentioned that earlier. There's this other Yoruba actress that is starred. She's a very beautiful and she really acts well. But I checked everywhere, but I didn't see her name. And that's like to just mention a few. But this, like, I feel like even by looking at the cast is such amazing like such an amazing cast because they're not. I wouldn't say, of course, there are people that in a way it feels like this movie was a new ground for most of them. Yeah, so let me go to what the movie is about. The movie was majorly centered around when Ayinla came into limelight, like when it was discovered. Of course, he had come into limelight a little bit before then, but then I think, but then as at that point where the movie started, it was around where Angela the Traveler, that's Afolayan, like Afolayan started to hear about him, and I think there was something he said in the movie a lot. They were always saying that Akpala was not allowed in London, so to say. I really don't know much about Akpala, so I really cannot say where that came from. But so at that moment, Afolayan's aim was to make sure that Akpala got to London, and he felt like the best person to do the job was Ayinla, that's Lateef Adedimeji. So the movie was centered around the plans to go to London, the preparation, the rehearsals, and all of those things. The movie was also predominantly spoken in Yoruba. One thing that I liked about the movie, not just Yoruba, it was predominantly spoken in Egba because of course we know Ayinla was an Egba man and he wasn't learned, so it was just pure Egba they were speaking in the movie. Even though I have read in some places where they said Lateef Adedimeji's Yoruba was his Egba was very poor, but maybe first I don't know how Egba people sound, I don't know how they speak, so I wouldn't know if it was a poor rendition of the Egba language. But I mean, I really loved it that way. It made you appreciate the Yoruba culture. And one thing that I also that is also noteworthy about this movie had a way of making you really feel like you were in the 70s. Well, let's say 70s or 80s now, but it really made you feel like you were in the 70s or in the 80s. Like he had the feel, everything about it was really, really no, I don't want to say everything, but so many things about it was really authentic. There was one part that I loved so much. It was the point where they introduced Jaye. That was Adela, she played Jaye. I mentioned that. It was the part where they introduced Jaye. I loved the building where, and they wrote it, even what they what they would, will I call it inscription? I think it should be inscription. The inscription on the building, it was not even written in English. You see that way, you know that they put in so much work, except if there is a building like that in Abeokuta that I don't know, because the movie was set in Abeokuta. Yeah, so he had this description that said ilé ìròyìn ti àwọn Ẹ̀gbá àti àwọn Yorùbá. And I don't know why, but it just made me feel like, okay, this is actually really authentic. And yeah, the movie is a timepiece. Now let me talk about the characters that are in the movie. Like I mentioned earlier, he thought that he played Lateef. He played the role of Ayinla. And like if you watched My Breaded Life review, I'm going to try to attach it up here. Adedimeji Lateef, I think he's such an amazing character. Sometimes, like when I watch him, you just felt like this guy must have studied theater art, because there's a way people that study theater art, there's this mannerism they have when they act. There's a pacing that they have to their acting that you're able to tell that this person is a professional. And I think there's a thin line, because I read so many articles before doing this review, because first off, I didn't know so much about history and stuff, but if I talk too much, there's a thin line between being able to translate a character you get and being able to embody it. And even when you're not saying so much, you're still able to pass some messages across. I think Adedimeji Lateef did justice to this, because even when he wasn't speaking, you are able to tell. And some things, even when Adedimeji, like his facial expressions, like I mentioned earlier, me, when he said things like shout them round, I loved it so much. And there was something that he used to call himself, I think it was Anigilaji. I don't know what that meant, but he said it a lot of times. Like whenever I was really happy, he was always saying it, that shit, Anigilaji, like is it me, Anigilaji, that's going to go to London and all of that. And but I read somewhere where somebody was like, when Adedimeji Lateef was acting, it felt like he was like it felt, will I say it felt inferior, or it was, so to say, like it felt like he felt inferior to the person he was portraying. Well, I didn't really notice that, but I think maybe the person knew so much of Ayinla in the first place, and yeah, Let me just go to the next person. I think he did well. He did amazingly well. I'll give him yeah, I'll give him a kudos for that. I think the next person would be I'm trying to do it. The next person will be Debo, Mr. Macaroni, our own popular Debo, Mr. Macaroni, activist, actor, comedian. Debo Macaroni, I think he did a good job. He did a good job. Maybe because I feel like there were not so many scenes or so many characters like for him to portray, so it was just one single way, so I wouldn't be able to know if and maybe because the kind of Debo I used to Debo the comedian, but in this movie it was quite serious and it was a thief. It was stealing Ayinla's money because Ayinla was uneducated. Yeah, because Ayinla was uneducated. And that takes me to one thing that I think I've missed before. The movie is really instructive. It's a really instructive movie, and that way you're able to reflect. Of course, why I said instructive at this point is when you don't know how to do stuff by yourself, that way you know that people cheat you. So if you want to do stuff, if you want to start stuff as a person or as an organization, I feel like you need to like have a little bit knowledge. You need to get a little bit of knowledge about that thing that you're able to start, because even when it came to contracts, Ayinla wasn't able to handle it. So Bayo Debo Macaroni that's Bayo one. He was always handling it for him. So he was always cheating Ayinla in that movie. So the next person, like I said, Bayo, I think he did okay. He did really okay. The next person would be Adelaoye. For me, Adelaoye was like the most spectacular actress for me in this movie. I don't know if everybody would agree with that if you've seen the movie. For me, I feel like her acting eats me the most. Her acting had so much power. She conveyed so much. And first off, I like how she speaks. And her acting, just like I said, acting had power, it had strength, and at every point you were able to get what Tunde Kilani wants you to understand from the movie. Before I continue, the movie was produced by Jadesola Oshiberu. She was the one that produced, I think, Isoken. And she has worked with Ebony Life on a number of their movies. I don't want to say things that I'm not sure of at this point. Yeah, and it was directed by the famous Tunde Kelani. And so, like I said, Jaye, I liked Jaye, and it was obvious that at every point where she was acting, there was something Tunde Kelani wanted to be able to portray from her character. I don't know if everybody would agree with me, but one thing that I was able to pick from her character was this: somebody that wasn't, she not that she wasn't intelligent enough, not that she didn't know stuff, but she wasn't well aware of her own culture. And that way you're able to see that that's how most of us in this our generation are. Many of us who are very, we are very when I said, don't let me say we are very level-headed. We want to get things done, but half the time we're looking at the outside world. We're not reflecting so much on our own culture, on the things that actually make us Nigerians, so to say, things that make us Yorubas, things that make us Igbos, things that makes us Hausa. So that way you're able to see from Joy's character that this babe, she doesn't appreciate so much of culture, because all through she was just saying Mali, this, that, and I think that she kept saying she was a Marxist and so many of that. And that way, you have to give it to Tunde Kelani. He was able to tell a tale and still teach us young people that it's okay. You can be smart, you can be intelligent, and still know so much about your culture and your heritage. That was amazing. Another person was Kunle Afolayan. Of course, we know Tunde Afolayan. Kunle Afolayan is an amazing actor, amazing producer, amazing director. But I don't know. I wouldn't know how. I'm not sure how I feel about his acting in this movie. Maybe because first of a part of me was trying to I didn't remove my mind from who Kunle Afolayan really was, but I'm not sure about how I feel about his acting in this movie. Another person was Bob Manuel. I think Bob Manuel is such an amazing character. I really love him because I think it was in Fourth Republic and some other movies that I cannot quite remember right now, but I know it was in Fourth Republic, and in Fourth Republic he was wicked. He was a horrible person. But in this movie, he was the boss. He was the boss of Jaye. He was the one that was always directing and telling her the things to do and stuff. And I think he portrayed his character excellently well. And another person, Bimbo Ademoye, she didn't really have enough screen time in this movie. But some people said they like the acting. I don't know how I feel because she didn't really act so much. So there was really nothing to, so to say, reflect on. But Bimbo Ademoye being Bimbo Ademoye, when she acts, you still laugh and stuff. I think I've spoken about almost everybody that played major roles. The other people, they were just minor roles. I'm not sure about how I feel about their minor roles because they had so many people, so many people. Yes, and Tunde Kelani had mentioned that he made a cameo appearance, and there was also some particular people that I noticed that the movie kept focusing on the drama, and there was this particular guy that was always sitting near Ayinla whenever I sang. Some people when I read up on them, they said that there are two of them, they are original band members of Ayinla, of the musician Ayinla. Yes, I've not spoken about Omowunmi Dada. Omowunmi Dada is a spectacular actress. She's a spectacular actress. I think there's no character that I've seen her portray that she has not killed. Like ever since I started watching her, from Oloture to I've seen her in a number of Yoruba movies, and I think she's such an amazing actor and actress. And to this one, in this movie, she was a social climber. They tried to use Ayinla to just climb up the ladder in life. I think that's about that. One thing that is also noteworthy about this movie, I think I've mentioned that earlier, the feel that it had, the feel that it completely gave you about the 1970s. That way you're able to see, the dashikis, the telephones that they were using, and that way you're even able to see the real lifestyle of Ayinla, because in this movie it was always on chains. He was always wearing laces, like laces that had gold sparklings on them. So, and accordingly, because history says that it was a very, I'm looking for the word, it was very fashionable. I don't know if fashionable is the word, but it was very egoistic. Like Ayinla was so egoistic. I remember that there's this particular scene that was where Tunde Kelani made a cameo appearance. He was supposed to have an interview, but because they told him that his lace was transparent, that he should go back and change he should wear underwear underneath, and then it was like Timba Padawa Kiya Melon Kokpeni or something. But critics have also said that as at that point where an interview was conducted for Ayinla, that maybe even when he died as of 1981, that even when he died, that his mom was still alive. I don't know, like I said, I don't really know about that. And which is something that I also love about this movie. I like that Tunde Kelani tries to remind us of people, because most times when you ask us, people that we think about Fela, and that's what many of us remember. That's who many of us remember. We don't know so many other icons. So I like that Tunde Kelani was able to shift the focus and able to make us understand who Ayinla was. And he's also recorded that even then the government, most times when they wanted to pass some laws or some messages to the masses, they used to tell Ayinla. He was that noteworthy person. So I think it was okay that Tunde Kelani was able to, bring focus to this character. It was also a musical, it was a musical. The timepiece, I think I mentioned that earlier. So back to Tunde Kelani bringing the focus to Ayinla, which is one of the things that critics have had to say. Imagine, because I remember that, for instance, let me talk about Moremi. When I remember Moremi the hero, Moremi was an hero. When I remember Moremi, I think my biggest knowledge of Moremi was portrayed to me by movies, from what I saw in the movies, which is why critics have also said that since this is like the first movie that they ever portrayed of Ayinla, it is something that many generations to come would remember. So they've said that there were so many lacunas in the movie, and there were so many voids. And I even feel like while you are watching it, you are able to even by yourself notice that some things don't feel quite, you just felt like, okay, what exactly are you trying to tell us about Ayinla? First off, I understand the fact that they focused on his character, they focused on his tragic flaws, which I have mentioned earlier. But at the same time, there were so many voids. It felt like, okay, you were letting us know Ayinla, but at the same time, you are not allowing us connect with him, which is the problem that I had with the movie. Because when I first started watching it, of course, I know that I'm going to be reviewing the movie, so I had to pay rapt attention. But after the time, when I want to review a movie and I know that I'm not going to see it on Netflix, I am always very careful to note things down. In the beginning, I was totally sweet because I liked the pace to which it was going. But some people, okay, I don't want to dwell on what some people say. I like the pace with which the movie was progressing. I liked it. But in the middle of the movie, I wasn't quite sure. Like, okay, where are we going and stuff? Of course, they were planning their trips. They were doing all of that. But I felt like they didn't really give so much depth to the character, to Ayinla's character. They didn't really give so much depth, and felt like there were some scenes that they could have done away with. There were some things in the scenes that they could have done away with. Another thing that I feel like is also noteworthy about Ayinla from this movie that you're able to take away from this movie is that Ayinla was always, he was always, not always, but he was always fielding, or he fielded in the movie. He fielded with a particular other artist, with a particular singer. I think I'm not sure it was Aaron Ashla. I didn't pay attention to the man's name, but it was always feeding with it to the point where they took them to police station, they took them to the chief, that we were able to see that okay, this was the dispute resolution as at that time. That way you see they used alcohol and all of that to settle it. That part was quite okay. I liked that part. But later on when it started progressing, I was like, I'm not so sure what you people like. I'm not so sure one thing you want me to take away from Ayinla's character. You know, when you watch Moremi, you're able to see the force of her character. I'm not saying yeah it was 110 minutes of movie, but if it's going to be a movie about an icon, if you make it 2 hours and you make sure that you're able to show so much of his life from it, I don't think people will mind. But at the same time, I want to excuse Tunde Kelani because he kept saying it that it was not totally according to the life of Ayinla, that it was fictionalized, which is why you see that it changed Bayewu to Bayowa. That's the Macaroni's name. So that way, I think I'm able to cut them some slacks. But at this point, I think I should also talk about the costume. Yes, you see that Johnny Sola Oshiberu and Tunde Kelani, they've been the boss at this thing for so long. The costume was amazing, amazing, amazing. There was a little, let's say, glitch, because there was a point where and last beard there, you'll be able to tell that this is not real, but it was still perfect. I loved me. Some people complained about, because in the cinema people were complaining about Jaye's her costume, but me, I loved her costume so much. Like she was always too eager, you know. She was such a bebeto, but I really loved her character. This is the first time I've ever been seeing Adela or you in a movie that I'll be focusing on now. I didn't even really know her name until this movie, and she's so beautiful here. So let me continue what I was saying. Yeah, I think all in all, it was a good movie. It was a good movie. Like I said, it is instructive, it is educative. You know, it even helps you reflect on some of your characters, like on some of your own tragic flaws. It was just that, and Ayinla, I think it was a funny man. He was a funny man. And something else that I know, I think they said he used to take marijuana, but I think maybe because Tunde Kelani didn't want to promote drug abuse. I'm trying to make it because I think that should be it. That he didn't want to promote drug abuse. That's one of the reasons why he didn't portray that part of Ayinla. And maybe he just wants us to remember him for the icon that he really was. But you know, his death was his death was sad, and yeah, and that way you're able to even see some of the scenes that led up to it, and just so many of that. I don't know if I've done this movie justice, but that's just how I feel about the movie. You can tell me how you feel about the movie in the comment section. If you think it was an amazing movie, of course that's okay. I think it was a good movie, but I also think they could have done better with the movie. Since it was a biopic, do you get, they could have done so much with it, and they could have given the character much more depth. So what will I give the movie? 4 people will come for me. I'll give it a, should I give it a 5/10? I'll give it over 10. I think I'll give the movie a 7 or a 6.5. I'll give it a 7 because I don't think this is the best of Tunde Kelani that I've seen. I mean, I saw Shaore there even like years after Shaore, and that movie still, it still eats me in a way. And yeah, another thing that is very amazing about the movie before I go is that the subtitling of this movie, I said it was predominantly in Yoruba, Egba language to be specific. The subtitling was so rich. Despite, like, even if you don't understand Yoruba and you watch it, you are still going to be able to connect because the subtitling didn't leave anything out. It almost did not. It didn't really leave so much out. So you're still able to connect with the movie. I think that's all that I have to say about this movie. Just let me know what you feel about the movie in the comment section, and if you've not seen it, you really should check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching up to this point. Kindly please like this video, drop your comments in the comment section below like I've been saying earlier. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and you can binge on my other videos if you have not binged on them. See you guys next time. Love you.